1 minute deal.
American minute, you
Yep.
know, and history, he's second to none, and he understands the Middle East as well. So to hear his perspective on location in Israel about Middle East history would be just incredible. And another man that you and I know very well is Bill Murray. Bill Murray is fighting your fight. He fights
Yes, he
every
does.
day
Yes, he
in
does.
Washington D.C. His office is just behind the Supreme Court, and he's taking the plight of those who are being abused today and those who are being persecuted today, such as the family in Egypt, to the House, to the Senate. He is there in the forefront. So he's going to be with us too, and we're going to visit with him some of his friends in Israel, predominantly the mayor of the city of Ariel, that was created out of nowhere.
What do you mean? I don't know that story.
Ariel is a city today, major city with some 37,000 people, with a university, a city with a university, just 30 years old, that is in the area of Samaria. So some of the grievances we have with people like Yasser Arafat at the time and then Abu Mazen today is if we come up with a solution of two states, what happens to those cities, Israelis, that live in the West Bank? There are three major concentration of Jewish population in the West Bank, and everybody agrees that if there is a solution, then these people have to remain living there because it's big cities already, and maybe some adjustment on the borders are going to take place. The joke about it is that when this actually was negotiated or tried to be negotiated, Israel made the remark. I don't think anybody took it seriously, but made a remark that the area of Wadi Ara, which is a part of Israel, 99.9 populated by Muslims, who say day in and day out that they are the brothers of the Palestinian and West Bank. We said, why don't we annex you to the West Bank, and we will take just 3% of the area to. Everybody said, forget about it. It was almost riots in the street.
Oh,
they didn't
boy.
want to hear about it. So to learn all this on location, to come with a group of educators, to come with a group of leaders that actually take the fight to the streets, is an amazing experience in Israel. And I feel, and I will be there as well, I feel that this would be a learning experience second to none.
Okay, Ron Wexler, 888-565-1470. If you want to come to Israel with Ron and myself and Frank Gaffney, these guys are going to come too. We're going to give the website in a minute. Bill Federer, who's the historian, Bill Murray, William Murray. You may remember that name. Madeline Murray O'Hare. Madeline Murray O'Hare.
Queen of the American Atheists.
Yeah, 61 or 2 or something, 61, I think. And I think it was Bill, as the plaintiff, was the litigant, the plaintiff against the federal government. Great Supreme Court decision banning prayer in schools. And Bill eventually, from atheism, converted to Christianity. Now he's a minister. He's fighting all of these battles. So Bill Murray will be on the trip. Now, let's talk about... I went with Mark Kohlberg, a good friend of ours. Mark's on our show quite a bit, and we went on an intelligence briefing, national security briefing. It was a fabulous trip. My first time in Israel. I've been trying to go to Israel since I went to Moody Bible Institute and then Denver Seminary. You know, every year, 20 years, 25 years, there was either a war going on, or a warning, or I didn't have money. Right. Still the same situation after 30 years, but I finally managed to go through the graciousness of some donors last year. And Mark went, Mike went, 10 of us went. Fabulous trip, wasn't it? It really was an amazing trip. What you're saying, we will underscore tenfold. But we only saw this much. We were there for 10 days, I think. We only saw this much of the country. And we didn't do any of the traditional religious sites, any of that. Now, I want to really develop this trip for the people, and I got a lot of emails today when I sent out the email saying we want to know about this. We want to know about this. How many people will go on this trip? What's the total number of people, do you think?
I assume that we will be probably 2 full buses. That means anywhere between 80 to 90. Each bus will be going the same way, and we will be gathering on location. Let's go a little bit about the itinerary.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
maybe we can understand.
I want to give them a feel. I want the
All
people
right.
watching and listening to really get a feel for this.
So we we
and the
would,
cost. We got to go through the cost.
we
too.
would be flying from the United States on September 30th, 2013, and we will be there approximately 10 days. When we arrive in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is on the sea, on the Mediterranean, a beautiful place.
It is, yes.
And the hotel we chose is very close to Jaffa. So those who venture and want to take a walk and go from Tel Aviv to Jaffa, I will be one of them. I never miss Jaffa. It's like being in a little town of 5,000 years back, and many beautiful fish restaurants and
The Old Man and the Sea.
Old Man in the Sea.
Is that the
right.
name of it?
That's Jonah.
No.
That's the
There's
story
a
of
restaurant there. The
Jonah.
old.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The
That's
Old
right.
Man
the
in the
Man
Sea.
in the Sea.
I
yeah.
had a meeting. A friend of mine picked me up and said, "I'm going to take you to a great restaurant." I think it was on it might have been a Sunday, and we went to Jaffa. Went to the Old Man in the Sea, this big restaurant, and they brought a feast of fish out that was simply
That's right.
amazing. We ate. Then we walked across the street, went right down to the beach, and went right
Yeah.
into the Mediterranean, just standing
Well,
there. It was very cool.
The beauty is that it's all fresh, and you see the fishermen actually coming, and you see the fish you eat.
Now, is that an Arab village? Or
It's not a village; it's a part of Tel Aviv. Actually, Tel Aviv is called officially Tel Aviv Jaffa, and it's one city, one mayor. The city of Jaffa is mostly modern, but the old part of it dates back to hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, in the Bible, it's the story of Jonah. Jonah was trying to escape God by going from Jaffa out, and of course, the big fish ate him and got him back to the beach. But this is the place, very unique, very beautiful, and the hotel is deluxe. We're going to stay there that day, and the next morning we will meet with everybody on the trip, because people I understand will come from different places. So perhaps we won't see everybody on the day that we arrive, but the next morning we have an orientation in the hotel where we're going to meet with Frank and with you and with me and with the guides and with our staff in Israel and some of the speakers, and get to understand what this is all about. From there, we will go along the coastline, which amazingly it's called Via Maris in Latin, which is the day of the sea that every nation, every major war ever waged in history was to control that Via Maris, the way of the sea.
Really?
Because that connected Europe, Egypt, and the Hejaz, the way to India and the way to the east.
Critical seaport, body of water. Yeah.
Well, it's the connection. It's so every empire, whether it was the Roman, whether it was Greek and Persian, everybody ever fought for this piece of land for nothing else but its main highway.
Now, where is it according to Jaffa? North or south?
It's going all the way from Egypt, from Gaza, actually, all the way to Lebanon.
Oh.
Of course, you cannot cross to Lebanon anymore, but it's the same
Okay, I've been on that
way.
road, yeah.
And that road today, is a highway.
Yeah.
Now, but we're not going all the way up. We're going only to Caesarea from there. Caesarea was the capital of the Roman Empire. Many biblical stories about Caesarea. It's a beautiful place to visit. If you scuba dive, this is a place to go. But we also will visit the West Bank as we go up north on Via Maris. And we will visit the city of Ariel. And Ariel today is a major city, and it is in the West Bank. And I want people to understand, when they hear on radio or they listen to television or watch whoever speaks, and they say that there are some settlements in the West Bank that Jews have to remove in order to bring peace. We talk about cities of 40, 45,000 people with universities, with with parks.
You think when you hear settlements, you think of some tents and some kind of lean-tos
Right.
and a couple of hippies on the ground. Not quite that.
These cities in the West Bank, the Jewish cities in the West Bank, are the envious of the Muslims, of the Palestinians. So
Now, is it safe to go in the West Bank? It's the West Bank. It's Arab land, right?
to the places that we go is not considered the West Bank. It's Israel. So it's very hard for a Palestinian. That's a part of their grievance as well. It's very hard for a Palestinian to get into Ariel, although it is in the West Bank. But what can I say? You got to give.
Is there's checkpoints going in then?
No, it's Israel. It's Israel proper. The checkpost.
Well, how do you keep
the checkpost will be past the city of Ariel, and the security wall would include Ariel in the side of Israel. So there's really no danger of any kind visiting.
Because we have maybe some folks want to go, but they're chickens. They don't want to get in a fight or anything.
No, I'm
like me. I don't want to get any fights.
I am not about to take anybody to any place that it is danger. Existence there.
Oh, except for Israel. Okay, we got that.
Israel. It is safer to walk in Israel at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you may, than it is to go in Miami or Chicago or New York. It is safer to be in Israel. If I had to have a new family today, and for security reason only, remember what I just said, for security reason only, I had to choose a place to raise a family, I choose Israel. So now, saying that,
because everybody carries, machine guns with them.
They don't. It's safe. That they don't.
No.
That
just the
don't.
soldiers.
Right. So now we're going.
Everybody's a soldier, yeah.
Right.
No, we would be in a restaurant or something, and some of the waitresses would be in there. And we got to talking to them, and they're soldiers, and they're just doing like part-time work, and they're armed. While they're there, they're armed all the time, which is
naturally when you're a soldier, you're armed and you carry. But it's not like you see. It's not the Wild West. You don't see people in the street with machine guns.
No, it was very nice.
Anyways, to carry on with what we said, we're now climbing up north, and we're going to.
This is day 2 now.
We're day 2,
okay.
And we're going to a strip of mountain ridge called Carmel, and again, biblically, it's associated with the fight that Elijah had with the Baal priests.
That's
very significant.
Carmel, sure, of course, yeah.
And just below is the most recognized valley in the entire world.
Kidron?
No, it's Armageddon.
Oh, okay.
Just below you is the valley of Jezreel called Armageddon, and you see the valley, and it's the most magnificent sight.
That may play a role in the near future.
My friend, in the middle of the valley, I will take you, and on the mountain, watching the valley, I will point a strip that will be just about maybe 10 kilometers away from us, and you will recognize immediately that this is a runway. And it's in the middle of that particular valley. And that runway is number 1 Air Force field in Israel. And the F-16s that went all the way to the Ozark to destroy the atomic reactor came from there. And the place is called Ramat David. It's also a kibbutz, but it's also the one of the Israeli Air Force.
Right in Armageddon.
Right in Armageddon.
But it's Megiddo, isn't it? Is it
Megiddo? And Armageddon, it's Har, which is a mount, Megiddo.
Oh, Mark.
Right.
So let me get this straight, Tom. We're going to Israel. We're going to visit Armageddon. And there's no danger at all.
You heard. You got to pull away from the mic a little bit. You heard Ronnie right. We're going to be in Armageddon, and there's no danger there.
And there's no danger whatsoever. Right.
It's going to be a great trip.
Because if Armageddon is what we believe Armageddon to be,
then
it makes
It'll
no
be
difference.
Okay, right?
It is not difference
That's
where
right.
we are. But interestingly enough,
What a time to go. I mean, what a time to go.
That's right. Interestingly enough,
Yeah, right when the end of the world happened. That's great.
often,
Yeah.
often when we are there on the top of Mount Carmel watching the valley, there would be 4 jets that would be fly above us. Now, not that it is being planned or anything, but the base is doing their training on a regular basis. So you're standing there, and those jets come so fast, and you don't hear them until they behind you. And it's the most amazing, and you feel strong, and you feel good.
Oh, that's cool.
So from there, we will continue, and we'll end up at the Sea of Galilee.
Okay.
Now, the Sea of Galilee is one of the...
I'm going to try to walk on the water. I'm a Christian.
Well, if you want to walk on the water,
if I have the faith,
we will make arrangements.
Pagans will pull you out.
Sea of Galilee is probably one of my favorite places, and the reason for it, it's not as commercialized as other centers in Israel. When you go to Jerusalem, some people say to me in Via Dolorosa, it's a bazaar, it's an Arab bazaar. Even when we go to the Holy Sepulchre, which is supposedly the place where the crucifixion took place, we don't feel the holiness. We feel that it's commercialized. Not in the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is really kept as it was. So when we go to Capernaum, when Jesus spoke, when Jesus preached at this.
Hang on 1 second. Ron, well, it's 44 after 4 o'clock. This is Tom Trento, Trento Vision. I got CJ, Mike, Mark, Ron Wexler. Ronnie runs tours to Israel, heritage tours. They're called heritagetours.org or com.
HeritageStudyPrograms.com.
HeritageStudyPrograms.com. HeritageStudyPrograms.com. We're talking about a trip we're going to take with Ronnie in September, the end of September, beginning of October. And we're just we're walking through each day step by step. It's fascinating. You can give us a call if you're interested or you need more information. 888-565-1470. And we are in Capernaum right now?
We're in Capernaum, which is the place where Jesus spoke to the people in the synagogue. Performed many miracles on location.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Not only are you trained in Hebraic studies and all of that, but then you took time and went and studied Christian theology.
Correct.
To be able to understand Christians, to do your bridge building between Christians and Jews.
Right.
So now you lead tours, and do you get many Christians on your tours that come?
I think most my people are Christians. I think that most Christians have a bit of not correct idea about the scripture. You see, everything that was ever written at the time was not written obviously in English, wasn't even written in Greek. It was written or given in Aramaic or Hebrew. Mm-hmm. Now, both languages, Aramaic and Hebrew, are very poor languages in root words. So if you want to translate, you are at the liberty of doing whatever you want. So just like every book ever written is subjective to the idea, the thoughts, and the dogma of the author, so is the translation. Now Jesus came to say, I didn't come to change one iota. I often wonder, what does it mean that when he said I didn't come to change one iota, you could go to a bookstore today and you see 1,000 different versions of the Bible. How is it possible? So somebody has an idea that what they take from the source, they can change in the way they understand or want to understand or have a dogma or try to change. Remember in the beginning of the program I said that part of the Islamic situation is misleading in the way that they translate their Quran. We have replacement theology also in Christianity.
Sure, yeah.
And the reason for it is that you can. Hebrew is very poor language. So if I want to say something in Hebrew and you want to make a different analysis or explain it in a different way, you can, because you won't go too far from the truth. One word, you can have 7 or 8 of them in Latin or in Greek, and then it came to the English. So what we have today is a little bit far and removed from the original.
Well, what I think is cool is you're saying most 70, 80 people on the tour, which is not a big tour. There's not hundreds and hundreds of people.
Right.
For Christians who may be interested in going, typically, if you go on a Christian tour from the United States, you got a Southern Baptist preacher, come on, we're going to go do this or that, and that's fine, that's good. But to have an Israeli who you were born there,
Yes.
who is taking you through his land, but understands Christian theology, whether or not I or you agree totally, you understand the land and what's going on and the events that are taking place, is a phenomenally unique way of experiencing it through your eyes, seeing it. That's very cool.
I think part of what we do in Israel when we go to Israel, and as I said, most of my groups are Christians, is a better understanding to see where the root came from, and the fact that we sometimes hear about grafting the branch to the trunk of the tree.
Right.
You know, if you don't know what a tree is, you can't figure what a branch is either. So when you come to Israel, you never read the Bible the same. I jokingly sometimes say, Bible comes alive, but it also comes alive in color. Because you get to understand things that otherwise almost impossible to understand.
All right, let's do this. We got a few minutes remaining in this segment. You're staying with us for the next segment. We're only on day 2. We got 10 days to go through. You guys have any questions right now for Ronnie?
Yeah, I just want to say that, coming from a pagan point of view, is just the experience of going to Israel and seeing the culture, see the diversity of culture, and seeing is well worth the experience. I mean, beyond the biblical and the Hebrew side, I think it's fascinating.
Just to see
just everything.
A land that's 4,000 years old.
And you understand why the conflict is happening and what's going on there, because you actually put a face on it. Oh God, these people aren't the
from a
aggressors.
Geopolitical perspective. It's amazing.
It's fascinating.
When you look at the Golan Heights and you look down here and a little narrow.
It really puts it into perspective. And you realize, oh my God, that's not a apartheid wall. That's a sniper wall. Little things like that.
It's very difficult to go to Israel and not come back from there saying Israel's kind of fenced itself in. You think they're keeping the Palestinians in. They fence themselves in many, many respects, and they live in this little island. CJ, you got any questions for Ronnie before we get into day 3? Day 3 in Israel.
I'll load him up on the next hour.
Okay. All right. So we're now at Capernaum, and what do we do there? Do we go swimming?
As we travel on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and of course, you don't have to do much but reading the 4 first books of New Testament to understand that we are in the middle of the place where Jesus preached, lived his life, most his life, and his entire ministry. So one of the most fascinating places is the Mount of Beatitudes. And I feel that, not that I feel, I made some research into it, that the entire message on the Mount of Beatitudes is with the sages of the Hebrews of the time. So he spoke to the Jews in Israel and tried to explain to them the easier way to understand the Torah and understanding of Judaism. And as he said, I'm not to the Gentiles. That was Paul's job.
Right. Yeah.
So he spoke to the Jews.
There were no Christians when Jesus was speaking.
Obviously. So now you get to understand also where this is coming from, because you see the terrain. You see what's going on. You see the fishermen. You see the fields.
The mustard tree.
The mustard tree. Yeah. You can actually pick the mustard tree seed and see why he chose that. Interestingly enough, I have friends in Galilee that are farmers, and I asked them to tell me what's the tear in the wheat is all about. Yeah. And they had a hard time explaining it, but they said, why don't you come to the fields and see? So I came, and they had some sort of barley fields there, and they told me, can you see any difference between the different parts that's growing on the field? And I said, no. I said, well, let's do it next week again. And I did come.
Right.
And I see some different leaves on some stalks of barley. So this is not barley. This is the wheat. This is the tear. And the only way to find out the tear is to allow the barley to grow, because in the beginning it all looks the same. Now, for the first time, I understood why Jesus came up with the parable.
Separate the wheats and the tares, the bad guys and the good guys. Oh.
But you can't tell in the beginning.
Oh, very interesting.
You have to give it some time.
Okay.
That's why all embryos look alike.
Yeah.
So we are in the Mount of Beatitudes, and I know that Bill Murray is going to speak there and
cool.
teach. Then we are going to go down to the Jordan River, and I know that Bill Federer is going to give us the history of the region and associate it with the Puritans that came to the United States and their understanding of the Bible. It will be fascinating.
That's going to be very
we
interesting.
will hear all kinds of things here that are just
we got an
unbelievable.
eclectic mix. Now, the Jordan River is on the east side of Israel, but the West Bank is the West Bank of the Jordan River, right?
Right, but not the entire Jordan River is aligned itself in that way.
Right.
Because part of it is in the Golan Heights, so we have both.
Are we
sides.
going to the Golan?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're on day 3 now, and we're going to have to wrap it up in this segment. Here's what we're doing, folks. Tom Trento, TrentoVision.tv. On the video side, on the radio side, and I think we've been having some problem with the video side. Has it calmed down? That's a little disappointing because we like to keep these things seamlessly. But what? Okay, but if you are watching the feed on TrentoVision.tv and for some reason it goes out, hang in there. We'll bring it back as quickly as possible. If you have iHeartRadio, you can just put that on and you'll catch the audio while we're fixing the video. But usually the signal's pretty good.
Because his highly paid tech staff is fixing it in the background.
Speaking of highly paid, if you'd like to donate to keep this circus on the road, or as Peter Feynman said the other day, to put a tent over the circus, you can go to TrentoVision.tv, tax-deductible donations. You will get a tax deduction for it, and we appreciate your help. Or if you'd like to buy commercial time, that helps us keep everything going. We ain't going anywhere, but that can help with it. We're with Ron Wexler, HeritageStudyPrograms.com. HeritageStudyPrograms.com. Go check it out. We're going to take a short break, come back. Day 3, 10-day trip. You can come. Start saving your pennies. We're not going until the end of September. More than enough time to save and come with us to Israel.